Hello and welcome back to Pandemic Playground with Dave. So it's been a while, but we're back with context number 5 of building a space elevator. So let's get started. Alright, so in no particular order, we're going to go through what we've done so far with the space elevator, pretty much from bottom top in a sense. Alright, so what we did from the last context video was basically built out the platform or the elevator system itself. So outside is kind of the platform as we've done in previous times and talked about it, but now we finally worked on the inner piece of it, the elevator basically. So the elevator, as you know, is separated by a block, either diagonal or a full block here, and there's a little bit of a bridge system here, a very one block bridge system that has a button that we can turn on and off just to give it that less of a gap, so we can actually throw a vehicle in there if we really wanted to. No choice, no real point in doing that, but that's a possibility. But inside we have our elevator system. It's quite large for what it is, which I did that on purpose so I can fly a ship in here, dock in. I do need to put some connectors here so it can dock in here if we need to. But I was also thinking of putting connectors probably on the top side or whatever, maybe like here, or some sticking up from the back here so it can connect, whether it's downside connector or rear side connectors. So at least we could bring up ships to space easier instead of flying into space to save some of that fuel and everything like that. So that's that. We also do have these hangar doors just to make everything airtight. So the hangar doors are the DLC, the version 1. So we have right here the warfare hangar door windowed. So you see the little window there. It's just to give it a little more oomph or visual right there. I did mess up on this side because I ended up making the regular warfare one, I believe it was. Yeah, the regular warfare hangar, no windows or anything like that. So for some reason one side has no windows. I'm gonna fix that eventually, but yeah, I don't know, I don't even know how I selected one without the windows, but I did. So other than that, we do have seats for multiple people if they want to sit. So you have 3 seats on each side, trying to make it symmetrical in some ways, except for the medical room over there. And we have the cryo chamber, so we're going to use a cryo chamber instead. But of course we added a medical room here, mainly so when we're in space, at least we have some way of transporting to it if we were to die or kill ourselves by mistake because of lag or misfortunes and accidents and things like that. So that's what that was for. And of course we added a few things like cargo containers down here just to give us some more storage or access to storage. So we should have about 2 of them, or one on each side. We have O2H2 generator right here that's kind of hidden. We have another one right here as well. So we have 4 total on here. So let's see, you can see on this side here, right here, O2H2 generators. Yeah, so we have 4 total here, 2 on each side. Just to give us more power, more hydrogen, things like that, and energy as well, because we have hydrogen engines, which we should probably kind of name so we know what is what. We're gonna do hydrogen engine elevators. Just gonna do that with build vision, so it's easier that way. So we can easily just group them from here using the hydrogen engines. Nope, that's not the one. We didn't even group them yet, so let's group them. So hydrogen elevators, so HEE, and we'll group it as quickly as possible so we don't have to worry too much about that. So we're gonna do toggle on and off. So if we don't need to use it, we'll shut it off because we do need to save on the ice and hydrogen, although we do have a lot. But I don't think it's necessary to run these right now because this whole entire grid system will be released from the main station, because right now this whole pillar system or elevator system is held up by this block and this block, I believe. Those are the main 2 blocks that's holding the whole entire thing down as it stands up with the towers. And let me just check this one. Yeah, so that's the only thing that's holding it up. So once that's off, it's going to need its own power. So that's why we have hydrogen tanks and hydrogen engines along with hydrogen thrusters. and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Besides that, we added this little nifty TV system here. Initially I did a 5x3 sci-fi LCD screen, but that only projects one thing at a time. So I decided to make 9 LCD screens instead. So you have 6 wide LCDs and 3 regular LCDs. So then we can show all the different scripts that they have available for the LCD screens. So I decided to go with like random stuff like 2 different clocks. You have your analog clock, digital clock, and then I put the more important ones. You have like your hydrogen power. Although I don't think that's connected properly because it's a subgrid, I believe, because it's showing nothing unless once we disconnect it, it'll show better. We have our velocity, or I forget what that's called, and then you have your gravity down here. You have your speed, and something with the jukebox, one of them, which we have back here just for some extra music if we need it. While we're going up, of course, we need elevator music, right? That's definitely a must in some ways. So that's what that's for. So these are the LCD screens here, aside from auto crafting, which we'll talk about in a second. But here I have to rename them so I know what's what. But the one in the middle is called the artificial horizon. So that's going to tell us, you know, whether we're straight or kind of like where we're at in positioning. So if you never played with LCD screens, so you can just change this to script and look at all the different scripts here that's already there. And you can use them like analog clock, digital clock, energy, hydrogen, faction icon, gravity, all those different things here. So it's useful. You don't necessarily need to use those. You can do like text images as well. And I think you download for the workshop different scripts or so just to make them different as well. So always fun stuff to play around with LCD screens once in a while. LCD screens with cameras, something I tinkered with once in a while, didn't really get it to work, but I wish it was just much more simpler to do, to be honest, and hopefully that could be something we could work with in the near future. But I know it's going to take a lot of resources from your computer, so who knows if that's going to work or not. But anyways, we have it basically on a little bit of a hinge system just to bring it up and down. So when we're about to leave or parking something or vehicle in here, at least we're not going to break the TV or run into the TV. So that's what that is for. We get some speakers we want just to increase the sound from the jukebox. But right now, I don't hear it playing at all, but it is supposedly playing. Who knows? I mean, my sound's on. Yep, you can hear that. But yeah, so that's the inside of the elevator. A lot of glass, so you can see around, obviously. This is a nice little view where you can see all of the world on this Earth-like planet. So yeah, on the outside though, we are trying our best to add all different types of elevator systems that I'm aware of, in some ways, so that we have the best chance to actually have it work. I have not tested it on this current system right now, but I've tried different iterations of it before, and it seems to hold up well, especially when you add thrusters. So that's the main reason why I have thrusters, and that's just to give it more chances of success. So this hinge rotor wheel setup does work with the landing gears. The only problem with this is that sometimes it's not grippy enough, so it will slide and fall down. Not always. By some chances it works fine, and some chances it won't work fine. So that's why instead of just leaving that to fate, we're going to add our thrusters just to be 100% sure it works fine. Which when I tested it, that worked fine with thrusters altogether. So we added large hydrogen thrusters with 2 tanks on both sides there. And on the rear end, we have 2 tanks on each side plus a sphere tank here, which I kind of made it kind of out of place, but I was planning to do maybe some downward thrust just in case I need that, so it wouldn't look too crazy. So if we were to do, where's my downward thrusters? Hydrogen thrusters right here. So we put it right there. It actually looks decent. It's not too bad. Maybe I should have did one here, and this one in the middle. That would probably look a little bit different and better, but it is what it is for now. But yeah, the thrusters, ultimate chance of making sure we're not gonna fall down and break the whole entire system. The only downside of adding all this is that there's a chance that we run out of hydrogen. Hopefully not, but we can run out of hydrogen and it's gonna fall down. But it shouldn't use too much hydrogen because we're not gonna use it to bring it up. We're just using it to hold up the elevator just in case. And we secured it even more with these landing gears. So I know the front side's super heavy now because of adding that whole piece to the elevator. I try to balance it out by adding more stuff in the rear, like more tanks and everything like that. But I added more tanks here, so that kind of counterbalanced it again. But we added some landing gears, very cheaply made landing gears on the back end, just 2 or 1 on each side. We added more on this pillar just to surround it better, just to be 100% sure we're not gonna break off easily. And of course we added the wheels on here to grip onto these pillars to climb up as well. So potentially we can use that to hold on to the pillars without it dropping. I might not use it, I might use it, I'm not sure. It's a good way to kind of do a braking system if we need it, an emergency braking system, because we can easily, and hopefully you can see this right down here. It's a little hard to see, but if we went to our wheels and we did height offset, you can see that it's moving a little bit to the left here and to the right. So once we're off of the main platform, it's gonna squeeze onto here, not go through it and phase through it like you see right now. When you're building a static station, initially when you do this, it's not gonna clamp on, so it's gonna clang out if you have it clamped on and then you release it from the pillars. So that's why we have it extended all the way so that it's not clamped on, so it's not gonna cause any issues or clang. But in the future, it's gonna squeeze right here with some strength. We probably want to do like 50% strength or something like that. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how that goes. But you could just use these wheels to climb, no problem, for sure. If you want to brake, we can add brakes by parking it and everything like that. That works too. But like I said, these are just safeguards to make sure my system of rotor wheels work perfectly fine. It is a slower version of it, of course, so it's going to take a while to climb up. Although wheels would be a lot faster because you can go 100 meters per second or reach 100 meters per second with good grip and everything like that. But the idea here is to mainly use the rotor wheel system here. If I get annoyed of it, if it's too slow, we'll change it up. We'll probably do the wheel suspension, which either way you're going too fast, things will start to break too. So we got to end up probably slowing down the power of the wheels if we were going to use it. So either way, it's going to be somewhat slow, but not too slow. But yeah, once again, it is just to safe keep this whole elevator system to see if it actually works, or at least give it its best chance. Not really to see. I know it's going to work. I just want to give it its best chance for it to work. But yeah, so that is that. And you saw I took out the multi-tool ship here because it ran out of hydrogen. I couldn't find a way to get more hydrogen to it, so I just grinded it down. I was going to rebuild it eventually, but instead of rebuilding it, I decided to make this somewhat jetpack looking like system. It was supposed to look like jetpack, but it looked way different than what I have in mind or had in mind. But oh wells. One thing that I'm very, very concerned about is this one here. This is the large hydrogen thruster, and it may be attached to the ground. Right there. Maybe. It shouldn't be, because the grid itself is not on the ground, as you can see here. But I'm afraid it might slightly be considered touching the ground. I'm not sure, but of course, leave a comment down below. If many of you say yes, that's going to be an issue, I'm probably just going to grind this down first and then bring it up and then reattach it later down the line. I do need to raise this whole platform higher too, I think, to be honest, because we need to make some kind of cushioning system for the elevator to come down. The ground is not a very good cushion for sure, so I was thinking of making a few wheels on the bottom, so when it falls down, it's gonna catch the suspension of the elevator. So I was gonna make the elevator not have the wheels for dropping. I was gonna put it on the ground, hopefully if I could. So that means I probably have to lift up the platform like yay high, maybe. So that gives it more success of landing instead of braking as well. So many different things to do still with the space elevator, especially in terms of stopping it when we get to space and also stopping when we get back down to the Earth-like planet. So yeah, that's the elevator platform itself. Hopefully it goes perfectly well. I'm sure it could do a lot better, but the other iteration I can think of making an elevator, which would be the hinge chain system, but of course that's going to take a lot of time to make if we were to go to space, because you have to plop on each hinge head individually, weld them up and everything like that. So that is something I'm not willing to do for a space elevator. Small elevator system, yes, but not for a large one. Alright, so other than that, yes, we make this supposed to be a jetpack looking like system, but it got expanded a little too further out, so it looks just more like a ship than anything else. But this thing was supposed to be replacing kind of the multi-tool in some ways, just to inspect and weld up the tower whatever breaks. Or, as you've seen in some of the time lapses, there are missing blocks, and honestly they are still missing blocks. Never fixed the projection really, and for the most part it's been okay. I spotted a few and just fixed them when I see them ad hoc. So this system works out pretty well. It's the small ship is a hydrogen ship. It has 2 tanks, so it gives us enough thrust to kind of go into space without any issues as well, so we can follow along the towers, the 3 towers. But it does, when I did it the initial time, I think I reached up to like 30% left by the time I got all the way to the top. But I wasn't using the hydrogen efficiently. I was kind of just holding it down, so that's not efficient at all to get to space with hydrogen. But it's enough, and it can carry a full load as well. It has 2 medium cargo containers, so I'm not willing to put a large cargo container here and then go up, because I don't think it's going to make it, to be honest, because it's going to be too heavy. So this is enough in that aspect of it. And the welder, I really wanted to put it with a rotor system to make it go in the back and swing it forward when we need to use it. But for some reason, that was making the ship drop a little bit every time we're just hovering. I'm not too sure why, but I think it's a common issue with hinges, because the hinge is still on, it's still pushing down with velocity. So that could be why. I didn't really turn off the velocity or turn off the hinge to kind of test it out, but I just got rid of it, so I just put a static type of welding rig there so we can have that as well. I was trying to make this round and or maybe use the mod with the sphere cockpit, but didn't get around to adding it, so I just added a kind of square looking like window here, and it actually is airtight. So if we close this up, you'll see the air vent is on, it's pressurized. So I use this as my door system. So once you open it, obviously you can't really go inside because, well, yeah, I guess you can, but it's a little cramped. But of course you want to get into the controls, and you can see the controls here. You see through the windows, the doors here. Can't close the door, but you can close it if you put it on your toolbar. So here's my toolbar 8, and that closes the door, and that becomes airtight. It's right behind me, you can't really see it. But of course, when you exit the vehicle, you get kicked out all the way. So this works for a space ship or ship in space. So it's airtight, it's pressurized, and everything like that. So maybe I add this in the workshop if you guys are interested. If not, I'm just gonna leave it as is. It's a random ship build. I honestly wanted to make it look like a jetpack. That's why we added the helm cockpit instead. So it looks like you're kind of standing and strapped. But didn't work out as planned. I think I need to bring it back a little bit more. But if I brought it back anymore, I don't have space for the cargo containers and things like that. Maybe I'll try a different version of it sooner or later. But always fun to make different builds, so just wanted to give that a try. Looks okay, a little odd in some ways, but not too bad. Alright, so once again, not going in any order. We are also gonna work with or play with Izzy's or Izzy's inventory manager. It was here, but I did move it. There was an issue with assemblers because when I try to have it affect all assemblers to build out everything we need, it was just going into my basic assembler that was back here, or really back here in the beginning, and then it took that out, and then it went all to my survival kit, which was a problem because those are the slowest things to have. And I realized, and it was a key thing I read, is that it splits between all the assemblers on the same grid, or something similar to that. So all the assemblers which are here, this assembler farm, is actually a separate grid, separated by this piping system here. Because in the beginning, I decided to not make the system perfectly straight or part of the initial grid. So that is why it's on a secondary grid and piped here. So doing that caused an issue with the inventory manager to kind of not work with all the assemblers. But easy solution, just move the programming block onto the grid itself. So here's the programming block that's right behind it, and these are the LCD screen for the auto crafting. Alright, so this is currently what we're trying to do, and that's build out enough bulletproof glass, computers, construction components, detectives, blah 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 blah. And of course steel plates, a whole bunch of them. So looks like I am out of iron once again. It's common problem that we always have. So we're gonna have things stuck on the queue. So now, since we are on the correct grid now, all the assemblers queue up a little bit just to make exactly what we need, or demanding in terms of the auto crafting. And of course, we still have our hole here to get iron, but it is quickly running out. So I am gonna have to get some more iron elsewhere, and we'll figure that out as well. All right, so what else did we do? We took down some wind turbines, one here, one by the house, which never has a roof. And we added some more refineries because we were gathering iron a little bit quick and stone really quick. So we need to add more refineries and add a bunch of speed mods as well. So we went ahead and did that, and everything works out pretty smoothly. It goes pretty fast when you're getting iron and stone and things like that with all those refineries and assemblers. And then add a whole bunch more cargo containers, and this time with this cargo container, it is blocking out ice. So this sorting system right here, it should be blacklisting ice. Yeah, it blacklists ice. This one's a sort as well to blacklist ice. So this system, or all these cargoes, are actually held up by pretty much this connection right here, which is a bad idea. But basically what I want to do is go from this sorter into here to block out ice, and I had to create a second sorter so that you can pull the inventory out from here as well. So of course you just block out ice in that sense too. But I didn't really have to do it in that kind of sense or that kind of way. But I think and I remember this was being a problem one time, is that if you only have one sorter going one way, you can't pull out backwards. Unless I'm wrong. That's how I remembered it. So I had to add the second sorter so that we could pull stuff out from here. The initial idea was to kind of separate these inventories, but then I'm using the inventory manager anyway, so no point of this whole system anymore. I was trying to do this system right here, the middle layer, as all the components, and the side layers, that's two on the left and right, as our stone and iron collection and ingots and things like that. So I'm using inventory manager anyway, so I just rename these, sort them out that way. I don't think I've done it all the way just yet. Yes, I haven't renamed some of these yet for collecting stone or iron, things like that. But that was kind of the idea. That's why these have sorters as well, just to bounce it back and forth. So without the script, only these cargo containers and these cargo containers would have ores and ingots, basically. What else? So we need to clean up this grinder. We don't need this anymore. We have our ice system right over here, which is still digging, and I think I dug a little too far. Yep, I kind of ignored this thing a little too much. So this hole's probably going to lag up the system sooner or later, but that's my source of iron, I guess, or stone. And let's see, do we even have stone? I think that system's so slow anyway. Yeah, we have some stone. Ooh, something broke. That's not good. Okay. I think something broke and now wasting collection of stone. And if it's broken, it's probably not. Nope, it was this. That was broken. So I think I've just wasted a whole bunch of stone collection. Not good. I don't think that was good because that would have been a lot of materials there. So, oh wells. All right. So actually, this is stretched out to the max anyway. So it is what it is. We should bring it back up, extend it to get some more ice. But I think we have more than enough ice. Well, actually, we're running out. Yep, we ran out of ice. We kind of wasted it with all the power that we're consuming with all the engines that we have, 100 engines that we have. So we should really stop it if all our batteries are like full. These are all the 100 engines here, which I don't think I put a button to stop it. No, I should have put a button here to stop it. So basically the hydrogen engines we should turn off because we're wasting a lot of ice here, or hydrogen in that case. We should put some oxygen tanks down here too. But actually no, we don't need it. Oxygen tank we need on the elevator. That is something that we're missing. So we're gonna have to plop a few on to get some oxygen. I mean, we have the O2H2, but we need to add ice to get oxygen. So it would be a good idea to throw on some oxygen tanks just to make sure we have air. So let's throw one here. And that's a little too... No, and throw one there. That conveyor here, so it connects to oxygen. And we should be able to store oxygen now, I believe. Stockpile on. Nope. Because we have no ice. I always forget this for some reason. I always try to stockpile hydrogen into oxygen, which is not something we can do. Silly thing that I always think I can do. So once we have some more ice and put on the H2O2 generators, we should be able to produce oxygen and store it into these tanks. Or we do some oxygen farms. We should put some solar panels and everything like that surrounding the platform. So it sounds like there's still a little bit more work to do on the platform itself, but nothing too crazy, I think. Potentially. I mean, solar panels would give more energy, but not very significant. So that's another thing that we probably don't need. But oxygen farm, we probably should tack on some oxygen farms, as this thing can get a lot of light in space anyways, and we can add some oxygen that way instead of depending on ice. Although we could carry a lot of ice, but of course we don't want to carry too much ice because ice is heavy for a system, cargo system at least. But yeah, that is what we have so far down here on the base side. It literally, it's a small base, right? We haven't really talked about it, but we've just been talking about it as expansion so far. And it really is, you know, starting with this house. So I started this house with no roof. It's a roofless house. It's been a roofless house because it was just easier to go in and out with a jetpack this way than actually to open a door. Though this system does have 2 doors for whatever reasons. We haven't really used the doors too much, except for like the initial intros of each time lapse. But other than that, yeah, the system is small, right? You have the house, you have the elevator, and then you have this next grid, which is car containers, assembler farm, refinery farms. We have a bit of tanks and O2H2 generators here. We have our batteries, turbines. Looks like I don't have all the turbines into a group. Yeah, I don't think I have all the turbines. I don't even think I turned these off. Yeah. looks like I don't have them grouped correctly. I don't even know which one I turned off actually. So and we'll just leave it for now. So we have our solar panels, we have wind turbines, solar panels on and moves automatically with the IZs, solar alignment script, which works perfectly fine by gathering the sun. Not a lot of power that gets from here, but you know, just a little added thing. Nothing too crazy. We have our little rover here that mines. We have our little scout flyer here to look for ore. Should really use a large ore detector, but it is what it is. We have a large cargo ship here, which haven't really used it too much. And yes, to confirm, I did have my dampeners off. That's why it fell down in the last context video. I did fix the ship up as much as possible, so it looks pretty much the same as before. And internally, yes, I've been holding 3 hydrogen bottles, 3 oxygen bottles to work on the welding worm up top, because we have no oxygen up there at all. So time to see what we have going on upstairs. Alright, so this is where we left off with our welding system. So we did a couple updates and upgrades since the last context video to walk through of what's going on with the space elevator. And instead of kind of modifying it and changing up the whole entire system, we made some additions instead of redoing most of this here. So kind of talking through it, we have this piping system so we can connect directly into the welder. Looks like I kind of broke it at one point, but we can fix that later. That's so we can connect into the base here just to get our supplies instead of flying a ship over, which we can't really do with that large cargo container ship anymore because it doesn't have hydrogen thrusting. But yeah, we increased the speed of our pistons. So we added 3 extra welders, so a total of 4 welders to weld up this thing as quickly as possible. And 1 or 2 wasn't enough because the speed of where we're going, or as we're going up, it's not enough. We added a few more cargo containers. So initially this is the only 1 cargo container. Now we added 3 large cargo containers and a small one. And we usually fill up the steel plates as much as possible. And the piping materials too, so we can go up that way. Looks like let me cover that up. Missing spots. But yeah, the initial welding system is still here actually. So this is the legs for the initial top when it was 1 piston high only. So that's what we did. We left it alone. We just got rid of the welding system for the length of that the 1 piston height extended. We added 2 more piston heights here, or 2 more pistons for additional height, so we can go a little bit faster that way. So I added the 2 pistons. I added landing gears on the top just to surround the pillars and decorate it a little bit. As you see all these large grids here, just to give it more support and everything like that. And this system works out pretty well and it's pretty quick in some ways. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but it works out okay as a worm system. So the pistons are currently running at 1 velocity instead of like 0.25 at one point. So it's a little bit of a faster welding. But of course the way we had the welders initially wouldn't work. So instead of the top down welders, we did a more surround the pillar welder, I guess you can call it. And we did 2 tiers. Because at the speed that we're going, we needed 2 tiers. Because the first tier would weld up as much as it can, but the problem is it doesn't always weld up everything. So it's going to make a lot of missing spots and everything like that. So we added 2 tiers to make it work. So basically, that sped up the process, I guess 2 times, 3 times almost in some ways. Not real math, but something like that. So that way we were able to climb up to, as you can see here, right in the middle, 20,000 meters, which is from the surface. So it's 20 kilometers down. And to see in terms of our marking, if you can see it right there, I put it bottom is at 20.23 kilometers. So we are at the 20 kilometer kms. We're probably reaching for 0 gravity. We're at 0.29 gravity right now, so the gravity here is not the greatest. Obviously, it's light. We could put a station here as a first stop, but I don't think there's really any point of doing that. So I'm gonna go try to get to the tip of 0 gravity, where we don't fall down into the planet, and start building a bit of, like, I guess we call it an orbital station in some ways, although it's probably not going to orbit the planet at all. I mean, we could if we're far enough away from the gravity, we'll put a station at the tip of the elevator and then make an orbital station which has waypoints going around the planet, or look for a model script. Either one works fine, but I think I'm just gonna put a station on top of the elevator first, and if we need to detach it to orbit the planet itself, we can do that, but we'll just put up a small kind of station up top just for fun. Although we already done a space station before, we're just gonna make a small kind of antenna like space station that we can have to look over the planet here. Alright, so other than that, if we could probably do more iterations of the welding system. So yeah, I copied the base of the projection and was able to project it this tall. So as you see down here in the projection, you'll see the base right there. I separated the base from the house and everything like that, and then just projected it. So that's how come we can get a lot further than what we had with 3 different projections. Now we just use 1 projection and go as high as we can. So I can constantly do that. Alright, so everything is still stuck on a timer system. So basically, I made it as simple as being able to hit my timer block on and at 6 and 7 to stop everything. But basically, with timer block on, we have the actions for it to lock on, release, extend, and weld. So right here it's extending. You see there, it's a lot faster. So right there, we get up to that point, tops lock on, and then we start welding upwards. So you might see some of the welds not being fully done, so that's what the bottom layer is to catch it, and it works out pretty well. It's a little bouncy and shaky, which is the problem, and the projection doesn't seem to be one-to-one. So you see here the piping system a little bit outside at times, but luckily it's still welding up perfectly fine, as you see here. Every time it locks, it kind of shakes the whole thing or repositions it a little bit for some reason. And it just works out. And so far so good. No clang happened on it, and we should be up and running quite soon. But yeah, this is I never built anything this tall in Space Engineers, and it's turning out to be really cool and a fun thing to do. And so I hope you guys have been enjoying this series. This series is probably gonna end soon in terms of the space elevator, but we're gonna move on to the station right afterwards. So of course, if you guys did enjoy this episode, the series, hit that thumbs up, like the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, make some comments down below to help with the analytics, and of course I'll see you guys next time. Bye.